Hello, welcome to Mind Mastery for Wealth with Rose Thompson. I'm the founder and CEO of Mind Mastery for Wealth. Several key events that we have been waiting on for a very long time and have been asking, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Is unfolding now and at a very rapid pace in the public space. Information on the implementation or continued implementation of the key benefits that will be available to us under Nesara, GESARA, to usher in this golden age of peace and prosperity and the greatest wealth redistribution for humanity in modern history. Information on the revaluation of currency and the global currency reset is also appearing. We're seeing information on the expansion of Brics, and that is very important, has implication for the US dollar as the world reserve currency. Information, it's like information on all areas, it's everything. Information is appearing now. Information continue on Jan 6, and information that will potentially connect or eventually connect to the November 2020 election related is appearing now in the public space. In this video, I'm going to share with you articles that are appearing in the public space that could potentially signal the continued implementation of the key benefits that will be available to us under Nesara, GESARA. It's these articles, I'm using them to connect the dots. So allow me a few moments for me to share my slides with these articles and the related benefits that will be available to us on the Nesara, GESARA. I will begin by sharing articles that are potentially signaling the implementation of these 4 key benefits. The forgiveness of debt as it relates to student loans. The new U.S. Treasury banking system is, as a matter of fact, it's the international banking system as well, which is referred to as the quantum financial system, currently running parallel to the traditional legacy banking system. Some persons in the banking industry may refer to this system as the quantum system, or there may be another name, but it is the same quantum financial system. The Federal Reserve System, it is my understanding that it has already been eliminated back into the U.S. Treasury. And I'll share articles with you on this new U.S. Treasury, not necessarily rainbow, but currency backed by gold. That's on the Nesara side for U.S., and I'll share articles on the GESARA side. I'll also share articles on the expansion of Brics, and the implication for the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, the de-dollarization of the US dollar. I'll share articles with you as well. I'd like to highlight that the information I'm sharing in this video is for educational purposes only. I'm not operating as a financial advisor, tax professional, or medical doctor. I'm suggesting that for your investment financial decision, you consult a reputable licensed financial advisor. And for your tax-related decision, you may consult a tax professional. I'm well aware that the tax-related matters are also handled by a financial advisor. And for your medical related decision, I'm suggesting that you consult a medical doctor. I'd like to welcome persons who are new to my channel and to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. I generally reserve this for the end of the video, but I'm going to share it up front. In particular, I'm going to ask you to like this video because I understand it allows the algorithm to reach more persons, and this is one of my intent. I'm also going to encourage you to share this video with any persons you believe the content will add value to their lives. Let me go ahead and share the articles with you now. This article entitled Supreme Court Allows 6 Billion Student Loan Debt Settlements, published by NBC News on April 13th, where the justice declined to intervene over a class action settlement that could lead to the cancellation of more than 200,000 loans based on claims that college misled students. Yes, this is nowhere near the $1.7 trillion that is outstanding in student loans for both private and federal related loans, but this I am interpreting to is establishing precedents for the cancellation or zeroing out of student loans, similar to that first arrest where precedence has been established. No one is above the law in that regard, and therefore both current and prior former presidents can be arrested. And just a little bit on this article is stating that the case is unrelated to President Joe Biden's broader effort to forgive student loan debt, which is also before the justices, with a ruling due in the next 2 months. So this I'm interpreting to be very, very important to the canceling of student loans. A very key article. This article published on May 3rd by ABC, captioned Fed raises interest rates by 0.25%, escalating inflation fight. And this article, I want to highlight that on Wednesday, the Fed raises short-term borrowing rates another 0.25%, escalating the central bank's attack on inflation just 2 days after the forced sale of First Republic Bank. Here is the contribution of high interest rate to the collapse of these banks. And this next article highlighting the impact that Fed's latest interest rate hike could set off a domino effect in regional bank failures. And this article was published on May 3rd as well in the Time. And what is key about this is the implication of the high interest rate on the regional banks, which we have been observing. And I'll share the individual articles on each of the banks, First Republic Bank in particular, as well as 2 other regional banks that have been impacted. And these banks are PacWest Bank Corp and Western Alliance Bank plunged on Tuesday as the demise of First Public Bank triggered investors' concern about the financial health of other mid-sized lenders. And it appears as though the impact as on Silicon Valley and Signature Bank is on the regional bank, and these banks have been bought up by the larger banks. JP Morgan has acquired First Republic Bank, and it may be the strategy to for the larger banks that are considered too big to fail, to acquire these regional banks, potentially to usher in the CBDC, and perhaps that is a strategy for control of funds to inform the public, to awake the public of the potential of the currency that is not backed by gold or other precious method for optics. It is my understanding as well that these events have already taken place and in the background, and what is playing out now is actually for optics. And just to share with you that the interest rate, which is now at between 5% and 5.25, is the highest in 16 years in an attempt to stabilize prices. This article relates to the debt ceiling published by AP on May 1st, captioned Treasury's Yellen says US could default as soon as June 1. And this is a very important event to observe. We're in May, it's approximately maybe 3 weeks to go to observe, to determine or to ascertain how the debt limit will be handled. It will be interesting to know whether this also is one of the strategy that is being used to collapse the entire system. Sharing this article with you for the recent banking collapse. Here, Moody's has downgraded 11 regional banks, including Zans, US Bank, Western Alliance. No mention of the First Republic, actually, and this was published on April 24th. Yahoo News. Interestingly, no reference to First Republic. As a matter of fact, all the 11 regional banks have not been highlighted. So continuing on with the individual article for First Republic, why First Republic fail are other banks to follow. This is in AP on May 1, and this is actually on Monday. And here is First Republic Bank has become the second large regional bank with asset over 200 billion, failing just a few weeks. And the question is, why did First Republic fail? And it is actually as a result mainly of the run on the bank, customers withdrawing their funds. First Republic actually grew rapidly through deposits from wealthy individuals and companies. It used those deposits to make large loans, including jumbo mortgages when interest rates were historically low levels, in hope of then convincing customers to expand in more profitable products like wealth management. And so the high interest rate now has significantly impacted the operation of First Republic banks in such a way that last week depositors withdrew more than 100 billion, most of it during the few days mid-March. So that is signaling a run on the First Republic. And I want to highlight that JP Morgan has acquired First Republic, but it has not assumed First Republic's corporate debt or preferred stock. And the question is, what has happened to who's going to acquire the corporate debt or First Republic preferred stock? Very interesting scenario here. Similar in terms of timeline, the announcement on May 1, Monday, significant collapse continued Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and over the weekend on Monday. By Monday, US regulators had sold First Republic Bank to JP Morgan. Again, JP Morgan only acquiring assuming all deposits and not the debt. So on Thursday as well, trading was halted in shares of two more U.S. lenders as fears of banking crisis continued. And these two banks, regional lenders, mid-size, are the PacWest and Arizona's Western Alliance. And this follows dramatic drops in reduction in their share prices. So it's very interesting. I'm recording this video on May 5th, Friday, to observe whether the trend is going to continue. On Monday, whether these two banks may be acquired by JP Morgan or other larger banks. So very interesting scenario indeed, and it is as we expected, as we've been told by the Great Plan, that the banking collapse is important, is essential to transition in the new international banking system, the quantum financial system. A little bit more on PacWest Bank says, considering all options. This was on Thursday after shares plunged more than 50%. This is being reported by CNN Business on Thursday, March 4th. And it is another, here's another regional lender caught up in worst banking crisis since 2008. This has occurred, and I want to swing back a little bit to First Republic Bank, because it is actually the second largest failure, after the first being Washington Mutual, which failed, which was a part of the 2008-2010 global financial crisis. And to close with the individual banking collapse, U.S. banking crisis, there is a study highlighting that as many as 190 banks could collapse. Think about the implication of this, but this is actually expected based on the Great Plan. So this article was published on Thursday, which would have been May 4th in the USA Today. So very interesting situation. Here is last week, First Republic Bank became the third bank to collapse, the second largest bank failure in the US history. And this is very, very significant. I would imagine you are observing the total collapse, if you will, of the US banking sector. So after Washington Mutual, which collapsed in 2008 amid the financial crisis, and the expectation is that this banking crisis, the stock market crash as well, will be as catastrophic or probably worse than the 1929 Great Depression or crash of the banking sector. Again, necessary to bring in the collapse of the old to give birth to a new system. That is what we are indeed observing. For the new US Treasury rainbow currency, backed by gold, silver, other precious metals. In the US case, it's going to be backed by gold, and I'm sharing support for you, where this is speaking about the Gold Standard Restoration Act, a bill introduced in the House of Representatives number 2435 on the 30th of March 2023. Referred to as the Gold Standard Restoration Act. So this was introduced, and this is in the 118th Congress for the 2023-2024 year, 2435. Prior submission was for HR 9157. Which was introduced on the 7th of October 2022. And before that, HR 5404 was introduced as far back as the 2018 on March 22nd, 2018. So I wanted to share that with you, and let me share now which from the original Constitution, and maybe a good time to review or to become acquainted with the U.S. Constitution. This article 1 of the Constitution, section 10, speaking to bill, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So that is supporting the gold-backed currency. And it is my understanding that the U.S. Constitution may be used as the model for the other countries once we transition to the new system. Now, this is on the Nesara. Let me share with you what is happening on the GESARA side, and in particular with the expansion of the Brics countries that have joined Brics, have applied to join Brics, and these countries are joining Brics with their gold or other asset-backed currencies. Fox on May 2nd as well is highlighting the new world, and here's a caption: the new world disorder, China-Russia bloc shores up influence as countries eager to join, including U.S. allies. And aspiring members include U.S. allies such as Egypt, Indonesia, and Argentina. And I am quite sure I might have missed it, but it is my understanding that Saudi Arabia, and this is the earthquake, is very significant, has already, if not has already joined Brics, have applied to join Brics. I am going to shift back to see if I have missed it in this article, but I know it is my understanding that they have asked, and if Saudi Arabia has joined Brics, then that is indeed the debt of the petrodollar. That is the equivalent to a financial earthquake. So very significant occurrence on the GESARA side, and it is my understanding that from as far back as October 2022, the Brics nations had transitioned already to the quantum financial system. And for that to occur, it meant that their currency would have already been backed by gold or other asset. Here is the section I was trying to locate. Aspiring members include Saudi Arabia and Iran, both of whom already recently joined the Chinese run Shanghai Cooperation Organization, as well as Egypt, Bahrain, Algeria, 2 nations from East Africa and another from West Africa, which have remained unidentified at this time. So, and I have already highlighted that Argentina and Indonesia have indicated their intent to join Brics. So very important information here. And let me just also include, share with you a few other information for Brics. And in March, Brazil-China strike trade deal agreement to ditch the US dollar. And then in April, and these are all events occurring in April, Malaysia Prime Minister announced into US dollar dependence. Iran joins global de-dollarization trend, seeks to reduce US influence on regional as well as international trade. Indonesia follows suit in Brics de-dollarization move, and then you have Argentina paying Chinese imports in yuan rather than dollar. And in May, very early, Syria joins the trend and has ditched the US dollar paid in yuan. Let me share now articles that are potentially signaling support for the IRS being abolished, and that is key benefit number 6 for Nesara, and the equivalent would be in the international would be GESARA, but Nesara in this instance for the US. And this one is more recent. It is dated April 24th, published in USA Today. The way the IRS, this title operates is about to undergo a major change. Here's what that means to you. And let me just quickly highlight a section here. It is saying that the agency released a strategic operating plan in late March. It envisioned significant change to improve taxpayer services, quickly resolve problems, use technology to operate more effectively, expand the workforce, improve its culture, and collect a lot more money from corporations, partnerships, and wealthy individuals. Very interesting article I'm sharing with you, and I am interpreting this to support those key benefits, the abolishing of IRS, income tax, and the creation of a flat tax. Key benefit number 15, which forbids the sale of American birth certificate records as chattel property bonds by the U.S. Department of Transportation. This benefit is, I have been observing this now for over a year, and many sources are providing information which is suggesting that we've been traded, and the two terms they've been using for return of funds is restitution for us being traded as chattel property and reclamation allowance. I have not taken a position on this. I would be very happy if I would be getting any allowance. I continue to observe this benefit. I'm sharing it for the very first time since I presented this in my 4-part series, and I think this may well have been part 3 of 4 or 4 of 4. It seems plausible, and there are also related age buckets with varying amounts, which I will not state here because I have not come to a position. I've seen no articles, I've seen no support for this. However, it does, there appears to be some possibility that this may well unfold. Again, if I'd welcome any comments, if anyone has good information on this benefit. Let me end this video with this article, which is such a relief for so many persons. WHO ends COVID World Health Emergency designation, and this was ended on Friday, May 5th, 55555. It is saying, and Tedros is saying, that it is with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency. This is news that so many of us have wanted to have happened so much sooner. So this is indeed a remarkable period. It is an exciting period. I am acknowledging the financial challenges that many persons have experienced, are experiencing, and any health related issues from this period, but it is truly, truly, truly remarkable. It is absolutely historical. It is happening. It is finally happening. In the public space, there is evidence to support the key events that we were told would be unfolding from this great plan that is becoming really very public. It is the execution of military strategy at its finest. It is absolutely brilliant in terms of the precision. And I'm humbled and grateful to have been afforded this opportunity to observe these events unfolding. It is absolutely monumental, it's historical, and it's biblical. And I have been told by several sources, and it is my understanding that May, June, and July are going to be very, very significant months. I have placed in the description below this video the contact details that we can be reached with any inquiry you may have about this video and my other videos. I've also placed the website address for Mind Mastery for Wealth. I'm going to encourage you to visit the site. It has great information, resources to help you to develop or to continue to nurture a mindset in terms of possibility and abundance. This mindset is very key for this great change, for this period of this golden age of peace and prosperity, to help you to not only navigate, but to thrive. I'm also going to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and to like the video and understand that it allows the algorithm to reach more persons, and that is my intent. This video with any person you believe the content will add value to their lives. Thank you so much for visiting my channel, and I look forward to sharing good quality information with you.